Good morning. It's another fine Saturday, and now it's a good opportunity to put on the brakes, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation because it's time for Coffee Breaks with Steve. Oh, good morning. Good morning. And I see Amy Sterling's on here. Good morning, Amy. Alan McCormick. Good morning. If you are tuning in, joining us live this morning, make sure that you do say hi in the chat so that we know that you're here and can say hello back. This is your conversation as well. If you tune in later and you're watching this recorded, you can still make your comments in the chat as you watch this, and invite you to do that. Make sure you do join the conversation. I think this is going to be a fun one. Good morning, Jerry Thompson, Kathy Garlick, Dee Dee Kiso, Jerry Zetterval. Yes, it's going to be a party now. We got people here. Oh my goodness, it's another Saturday. We're coming up now. This is the final Saturday in the month of August. We're getting into the fall months here, right? School has already started in some locations. Will be starting up for others, and I think just over a week. A lot of schools still start right after Labor Day, which is next weekend. We'll be talking about that because we are going to be taking a little bit of a break next weekend, the Labor Day weekend, with Coffee Breaks not be on the air. But we'll get to that a little bit later on. What's the weather like in your area? We've been having, for the most part, we've been having some pretty warm summer days here in Spokane. I know weather is still varied all over the place, all kinds of weird weather taking place. But what's it like where you're at? And do you have any plans coming up for the Labor Day weekend or even this weekend? Jason Wheelock is on here. Good morning, Jason. Lila Swafford. Good morning, Kathy McCormick. Looking through my magic mirror. How many of you remember Romper Room as a kid back in the 60s? If you're an old dude like I am, no, you don't have to be an old dude like I am, but when I was growing up, there was the show Romper Room that was for young kids. And the host, I think they had different, I think it was franchised and they had different romper rooms in different cities. I may be wrong. But they would do a thing where they would the hostess would hold up a magic mirror, which was basically like a mirror frame that she could look through into the camera and say hello to people. So Carissa's here, Rick Venturi is here, Carla Venturi. Yes, indeed. San Jose, Didi says 72 degrees. Right now, it's only 64 degrees in Spokane. I think it's supposed to get up maybe into the 90s today. We shall see. Miss Marianne Didi says, yeah, it was Romper Room was one of those shows that we talk about that we grew up. We should do a show. I think we have in the past, but do a Coffee Breaks on those kids shows that we grew up with, like Captain Kangaroo and Romper Room. And even as you get a little bit later on, my younger siblings, and then my kids growing up with things like Sesame Street. Okay, we know what needs to happen now. Shalane, make sure we stay on track. Good morning, Shalane. Yeah. Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, the various kids shows that we grew up with. And I think we have talked about that. That's always a fun one to revisit. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to be off next week. So rather than go through a whole list of special and bizarre holidays for the next 2 weeks, we have several birthdays that I wanted to acknowledge that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. And I wanted to wish happy birthday to. And the ones that I had on my list, if I'm missing any that are part of you or your family's celebrations, make sure you put them up here. But 29th Monday, this coming Monday, the 29th of August, my nephew Joshua Fort is celebrating a birthday. Happy birthday, Josh. Next weekend, September 4th, my brother-in-law, Rod Garlick. Rod, happy birthday. And I'm going to reach out to these people, of course, individually, but I wanted to acknowledge them here. The 7th, September 7th. Wow, this is going to be one of those days I can tell. I can't keep dates straight, shows straight, or probably even my name. September 7th, John Harris is celebrating a birthday. September 8th, Brenda Durnell is celebrating a birthday. So happy birthday to all of you. If you've got a special day coming up, a birthday, an anniversary, some other special day that you or a close member of your family is celebrating, you want to make sure that we acknowledge, make sure that you put that in the chat. And if you got one coming up in September at any point, you want to make sure that we get it on the list, you can private message me or email me with that information. So I make sure that we include you or the person that's special to you or your special day in all of this. Okay, I want to get to the topic. You know, it's been a while since we've done one that's just been fun and funny. I think we've had guests on and we've talked about a variety of things that I think are very relevant in our culture, our society, and our world right now. And sometimes it's just fun to take a break and talk about things that I think cause all of us to laugh or shake our heads or roll our eyes or whatever it might be. And so we're going to do that together. We're going to talk about those things that we run into in our world. It can be out in public, it can be in our home, it can even be, I don't know, it can happen in so many different places where we run into those situations where some workmanship causes us to go, what the heck were they thinking? They had one job to do here and they couldn't get it right. So I've got some pictures I'm going to show. I'm going to share a couple of personal stories from my own experience. I want you to be thinking about your stories, where and when you've encountered things that have caused you to shake your head in that fashion. I do see, by the way, Kim Baker is on here. Good meowing to you, Kim, or afternoon where you are. If I have not acknowledged that you are here, it means that either you didn't say hello or I missed your name. Make sure that you let us know that you are here and can so that we can keep track of you in the chat and you're part of the conversation. So I'm going to start this show. Sorry, I definitely need the coffee this morning. So we're going to talk about this. You had one job, and I've kind of separated these into different categories, if you will, but just to kind of spark some of the stories that we encounter on our own. Yeah, I saw Carissa. I did see that you dropped out. Carissa is our director, and she is usually in the live feed here with me, and I can see her on the screen, and sometimes her feed drops out. So that's okay, Carissa. I see that you're working to get reconnected, and we're keeping track of things here. All right, let's talk about this. You had one job too. The first one is just kind of stuff you encounter out on the road or when you're out in the open air public. Here's one where they were paving, doing some road work, obviously paving, and this didn't even either missed or didn't bother to pick up a shovel. And there it is, paved right into the road. I can also see where that, talk about a pothole that could cause some problems. Yowza, that one doesn't look good. By the way, hi, Georgie Dwyer. I see that you were on here with us this morning. Good morning. All right. I don't know, give it a minute. Some of us can't keep track of our left and our right anyway, and this certainly doesn't help. And wow, I could see in certain areas if this could be confusing enough to be a safety issue, right? Yeah, look left. Okay, where's left? Let's see if I put my right hand over my heart, then okay. Yeah, sometimes little paint jobs get a little messed up. This looks like this might even be on a bike path or a trail of some kind. It's not a very wide path there, so I'm not sure what was going on here. Speaking of which, how about this one? Yeah, that could be a bit disconcerting if you were driving in that area and trying to figure out where the solid yellow was. Had one job to do, folks. And sometimes you think, did they just not look back at what they had just done? Was there no supervisor who was watching this while it was happening? Or did they get done and look back and go, whoops, oh, well, when in doubt, go around. This one's interesting because they obviously had to make a very specific zigzag to get around to this little defect in the side of the road. But, you think, well, could you just skipped over that defect until it got paved? No. We're going to go ahead and put the line around it or around this one. A bush is in the way. We'll just curve it out and take it right around the bush. You don't want to be dealing with that. And if you can't go around, maybe you go over. This looks like it's just a pile of leaves or branches or something in the road, but we're just going to take the painter and go right over the top of that. And if you can't go over the top, you just go right through. Something's in the way while you're building a fence. You're just going to cut the boards and fit around. I mean, I just think about what effort it took to shape that fence around that car. It's like it almost seems like it was more trouble than if they'd found a way to get the car moved. But yeah, they had one job, that was put the fence up. This one, you kind of go, well, yeah, it's bikes and pedestrians here. And wow, you better watch where you're going, and you better have a pretty slim field of view and pattern to go through there. These are interesting too, because this is where we're putting the bike path. Well, there's a tree in the way. Okay, well, just put the path around. I doubt very seriously that tree grew up after the path was put in. Could be wrong. Okay, let's talk about this for a minute, because I know this comes up, these areas that are supposed to be disability accessible. And I've seen this on more than one occasion where one thing or another is being done that's supposed to assist people with disabilities that obviously somebody's not thinking very well. So this is supposed to be disability access. And I don't even see in the parking spot next to it that there is anything showing that this would be the overflow, which is still bad because you still need to have full access. But they've got the wheelchair icon in here as if this is supposed to be the disability access. Yeah, not very accessible. Speaking of which, you got to look closely maybe at this one because of the lighting and the contrast, but this is a door that is marked as disabled accessible, and there are stairs leading up to it, a couple of steps leading up to it. So that one is obviously not going to be very accessible. Plus, it looks, just by the placement of the chairs, hard to see depth of field. Like there may not be a lot of room for someone who needed to move a wheelchair through or something like that to get very easily through the floor space, let alone up to that door. Speaking of stairs, this next series talks about kind of stairways to wherever. This is somewhere where the escalator leads right up into a wall. And obviously these people staged something here to make it a bit humorous, but you really have to ask yourself, what the heck, when you see something like this? Not only though you had one job to do, but what were they thinking overall? This just doesn't even make sense whatsoever. And I do want to ask you again, as you're looking at some of these pictures, if these spark any memories of any things that you have encountered in your own experience, put those up here. So going back to the disabled one here in our town, I'm not going to mention the place. I've noticed it. Shalana in town has mentioned it when she came to visit us, has mentioned it. There's a spot where next to a business, there is disabled parking is shown. And then there's a ramp that is obviously there for wheelchair access, a concrete ramp going up to an upper access and parking and doorway area for these businesses. And the ramp goes part way up, and then the other half of the way is concrete steps the rest of the way up. So the wheelchair access gets you part way to the upper level, and then apparently you got to have a wheelchair that can walk upstairs or something. I don't know. So yeah, sometimes we wonder. How about this one? You see these in a variety of places. I tell you, when I was in Thailand a number of years ago with a group that I was working with at the time, we stayed in various hotels where we saw this type of thing taking place. You'd be in a stairway taking the stairs instead of the elevator in the hotel. And you'd see where they just, oh, we've got to put rails up. Okay. No acknowledgement whatsoever for access doors. We also found, we talk about fire hazards. If they needed to stick extra furniture, beds, not just bedding, entire beds or couches that they didn't have any place to go, they would put them on the landings of the stairs. And to get past them, you actually had to climb over the furniture. This was on stairways that would be used as escape in lieu of an elevator if there was a fire. And yeah, probably didn't use those doors anymore. Well, you got to wonder, because they don't look like, the doors don't look that old. So who knows? Here's another example. At least this door looks like it opens out, so you could climb over the rail and get out the door if you need to. But even the angle of the door to the stairs, it's not, the door is not aligned with the landing. So again, you wonder, was it the fault of the people putting in the door, or the fault of the people putting in the staircase or the railing? What happened here? This one, this looks like, just from the writing, it could be in a foreign country, but hydrant, this is probably either a fire hose or a fire extinguisher or both. This would be something that would be very important to be able to get to, presumably in the event of an emergency, unless they moved the equipment. But then you'd think they'd take the box out so that someone, firefighters or anyone else who was dealing with an emergency, wouldn't be confused by that. But no, let's just put the railing. And I mean, they even took the time to put the curved pieces in to go around this box and deliberately block it in. That raises some concerns as well. Yeah, that's just silly and crazy. Here's one. Don't know what the afterthought was here, but this is obviously a design for an escalator. If you look closely, that's not an escalator. That's just a standard staircase going up. And it was sort of a chicken and the egg thing. Did they put the staircase in and then decide that they were putting the railing in for an escalator, or was there a staircase, or did they plan on putting an escalator in and then whoops, ran out of money, so we're just going to stick a staircase? I don't know. It's still odd. Doesn't look right. Stairway to nowhere. I'm not sure what the concept was here. It looks like possibly at one point there was a concrete landing off to, this is an old building. There may have been a landing off to the side that broke off, but still, that just looks very odd, just to have the staircase going all the way up to the underside rather than them being offset to each other. It doesn't look like it was very well planned. Like Winchester Mystery House. Yeah, Dee Dee, that's right. Any of you who've ever been to Winchester Mystery House in San Jose know how many stairways go nowhere, and stairways that are designed with just really odd characteristics to them. And, that's definitely, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Continue to put your comments, your observations, and your own experiences in here. Here's one that really makes you wonder what the thinking was here. Presumably, by the way this looks, they had this, and I can't tell, this may, depending on where it is and how this was put together, this staircase may have been part of a fire escape system, given how it appears. Metal staircase on the exterior of the building with exterior doors. I'm guessing this was supposed to be the fire escape. And you can even see alongside the doors, on the right-hand side of the doors, where it appears that there are some kind of connector bolts or something identified there as to where the staircase was supposed to go. And instead, it's connected to the side of the building. And there's some small windows where that spiral staircase is. So again, you kind of shake your head and go, what the heck? Yeah, let's see. Here's another one. You've got balconies that, whether these were actually designed to be accessible balconies or look out the window balconies, they're stuck in a corner and there's no window or door there. It just looks, they even have lights under there. So obviously these were designed to be lit up. So if people were on these balconies, there was some lighting, but no access to the balconies, I guess, unless you climb out the window and jump across, pull a Tom Cruise or something like that to get over to the balconies on the railing there. Yeah, that would be fun. Speaking of balconies, here are some balconies set that have no bottom to them whatsoever. This could be, I'm just guessing, but I'm thinking this could be a bit of a hazard if you actually tried to climb out onto any of these balconies. Again, was this just something that was put out there for decoration? Because it looks dangerous, and at the very least, it looks really weird to have those there. Yeah, in some cases, you have to be a ninja, and in this case, you might have to be able to levitate. Okay, talk about not lining things up. Again, you kind of wonder, was this architectural issue of one kind or another, or builder's issue of one kind or another here, the placement of the window and the door and the porch? This could be an interesting house to get in and out of, no matter how you look at it. Speaks for itself. Let's might be okay if all you had is motorcycles, but this is going to be fun to get your car in and out of. Also, speaking of which, I want to see the access point for this garage. whether you're on the road that the picture was taken from or simply down below. That's going to be interesting. Unless you have a lift down there like they use when they pick your car up to change the oil. Kind of, yeah. Okay, good placement of the bench here. Going to be okay, except when they're watering up above or when it rains, as it appears to have been doing here. Can you imagine sitting on that bench and all of a sudden a spout of water comes pouring down on you from above? Just again, observation, taking a look at what's around and where things should be placed. One job, guys, at one job. Hey, Bob, listen, the inspector said that we need to have some supports on that overhang. Is there a way that we can do that? Sure, no problem. And oh, yeah. Okay, Shalane, to your comment, boy, that is one of my pet peeves, as some of you already know, is when something arrives at my house and it says some assembly required or easy assembly, I just begin sweating buckets because I know it's going to be a problem. I call it the IKEA syndrome. Yeah, I get it. That's definitely not fun. Go eat chocolate, Dustin. I agree with you. Yeah, this one, it just kind of, I mean, talk about shaking your head and going, there were no other alternatives here. This one, I think, was done specifically to drive OCD people crazy. I don't know how well you can see this, but you can see this beautifully symmetrical tower. It looks like it's on a town hall or a church or something. And the clock is just not quite center. And I don't even know if you'd have to be OCD to look at that and just have it drive you nuts. Can you imagine living in this town and seeing that every day? I would just be beside myself. I don't know that I could take that. Now, I don't know what this company does, but if they are not manufacturing and distributing bathroom fixtures, they have missed their calling, because they've got a branding opportunity right here in the architectural design and construction of this building that hits it right on the mark. Okay, talk about the cheap seats. You know, again, you got to wonder what the thought process was supposed to be here. Can you imagine getting seats to go see a sporting event and this is where you end up sitting? Can't even see the Jumbotron from here. That's just sad. Yeah, we're going to put up a divider wall and separate this break room from the section on the other side. Okay. Guess we're not going to be using these drawers anymore. This one, not sure exactly what was supposed to be going on here. I think about movies like, what's the movie, Being John Malkovich, where you have the sort of floor something and a half, and you have to, the elevator has to stop between floors and that type of thing. What it gets me about this one, in addition to everything else, hopefully they don't ever have to access whatever's behind that door, because if you can notice from the hinge, this door opens out. This door opens in the direction the picture was taken. And that doesn't look like that's going to happen unless you take a lot of ceiling panels out. I think this one changes the old carpenter's adage to measure once, cut twice. This doesn't even look like, under normal circumstances, there would be any reason why that. I guess maybe there would be in a double door setting, a French door setting, maybe that would be the proper size door, but certainly not the right door for that particular opening. You want your money, you're going to have to work for it. You'd have to bring your own step ladder to get to this ATM. That doesn't look extraordinarily convenient if that's what you're using it for. How about this one? They do have steps that go up there, but it doesn't appear that the steps quite go up high enough. Bankomat, yeah. Okay, what about bathrooms? Let's talk about, particularly in public bathrooms. And I've got another story, but here, privacy, if privacy is one of your pet peeves or one of your desires or requirements, if you go into a public restroom, I don't think this one's going to quite fit the bill. Nice that they were willing to put doors on the stalls, but I think maybe the placement of those doors is a little bit off. Once again, mentioning when I was in Thailand, with this group, we were going from place to place in the country. Hang on, time to do one of these, Shalane. I like that, Rick. Yeah, I didn't necessarily do well in woodshop either, but I did learn the concept of measuring twice to cut once. Okay, I've made mistakes there too, which is why I typically don't try to do my own handiwork when it comes to woodworking and things like that. We were in Thailand, and during our travels, we stopped for lunch at a very modern mall, shopping mall. Good facilities, very modern, had some, several stores, had like a food court, and the restrooms were down a little private hall, as restrooms in malls often are. So you could go down this hallway and then get to the doors to the men's and the women's restrooms. Men's room, well, both the restrooms, but the men's room, if you walked into the restroom, again, not uncommon for you ladies, just to kind of describe, it is not uncommon that when you go into a public men's room, that the urinals that are typically on the wall may be along a wall that could potentially be visible as the door opens. And even that is a little bit of a problem. At this mall, in this particular set of bathrooms, not only were the urinals in a direct line of sight if you opened the door to the men's room, you didn't have to worry about that because there was a big window cut in the door to the men's room. All you had to do was walk by and glance over, and you'd see all the gentlemen in there doing their business. A little bit disconcerting. I think I found another option before we left. Yeah, sometimes I see Jerry put something here, and I think sometimes you finish that because I see you didn't quite get a chance to finish that thought. But placement of electrical outlets or panels or lighting fixtures can be an option. I don't think I have any of those in this particular display. What about this one? Here again, you're talking about the urinals. Amy, my thought was, why put a window? I thought maybe it was so that the people who had to come in and clean the bathrooms would be able to see if anybody was in there before they knocked on the door to make sure that it was okay to go in. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to this one either, because they obviously designed the sit-down toilet to be disability accessible. They've got bars there, and the door opens out like you would want on disability access stall, but they put the stall with the urinal, or they put the urinal where the stall was or something, instead of flipping these around. That one's kind of weird. Take a moment here. So you get done utilizing the bathroom facilities, and now it's time to wash your hands. I'm not really sure. Maybe there was a space issue here, but wow, that one's a little bit weird. And then I don't even think I need to comment on this. It's more or less speaks for itself. Okay, shopping. Let's put the mannequin here so we can put this lovely young women's outfit on display. Sometimes the displays do I get to me, and sometimes I know they're deliberate the way they're set up. I'm not sure what the thought process was here. Maybe they ran out of female mannequins or something. This next one, you're kind of going, hey, Louise, do you mind putting the dress shirt and tie on one of the displays? Sure, I can do that. So the dress shirt and the tie are on the display there, which is obviously designed for a fitted shirt. So at least we know that. That's great. All right, shopping as well. Here we've got the label for watermelon, which is looks like $1.49. So that's not a bad price, I guess, for yellow whole kernel watermelon. This one, petite diced tomatoes, and we opened the can, and you can immediately see what's wrong with this label because those are not diced. No, obviously a bit of a mislabeling here because that doesn't look like tomatoes to me. Speaking of tomatoes, local tomatoes, $1.99 a pound. I'm looking a little bit closely at these, and those are interesting tomatoes. Yeah, don't think so. And then you got this juicy bacon. Looks like they were half right. This is juicy. This is a display of juicies, but I'm not seeing anything that even resembles bacon here. Back to school. I don't know how well you can see this, but it is a bunch of really nice, sharp kitchen butcher knives. And I think that's a great thing to make sure that little Johnny has in his lunch pail when he goes to school. And you want to make sure he's got some good butcher knives to cut up pieces of his lunch with. That's going to work well for Johnny and probably put him in good stead with his classmates and teachers. This was one of my favorites. This is one of my favorites. If you're not sure exactly what this is, some people, maybe it's just, I'm not exactly sure how to spell bananas. So these are just long yellow things. I mean, that one, I had a long yellow thing with my breakfast this morning, so I can appreciate that. Signs and wonders. Some of these are on stores and in other places, but here you've got, and this is obviously a Target store. We see who this is. Enter only. Do not enter. I think it says at the bottom, shop anytime online. I think I would turn around and shop online at that point. Emergency phone not installed. Please do not have an emergency at this location. Okay. Yeah, I think that's great advice. Don't have an emergency here because the emergency phone isn't installed. My boss said to put something up. So, you followed instructions here. That's all I can say. Also, the order that you put words up on the display can make a difference. Eat kids free Sunday. Might raise some eyebrows and also cause you to not want to bring your entire family to this restaurant. In memory of World War XI, somebody, okay, that to me is just sad. Got the dates right. Winter conditions, drive with cake. I'm always in favor of having cake. I'm just not sure that it's going to help you in the winter conditions. I once saw one driving on a wet pavement where it said, wet roads, use caution, except they accidentally left the I out of caution. So if you just read it grammatically or phonetically, it said use cotton, which I don't think would be sufficient to soak up the wet pavement. Speaking of cake, just the instructions were just right. Happy birthday. You've seen a number of these. There are a whole bunch of these. I could have put dozens of these out there where the instructions got put verbatim. Just right. How about this one? Expectation and reality. This is what we wanted. This is what we got. That's just unfortunate. No smoking. Okay, good. Yeah. Maybe this was to send two messages at the same time. It's a little bit off. Used cows for sale. I want to stick with a new cow. I really don't want a used cow unless I've got good history on whether it's been in accidents and how it was used and its mileage. Here, I think just the parsing, the spacing of letters makes a big difference in how this can be interpreted. And I don't think we need to spend any more time on that because that's very unfortunate. And finally, please try to walk without walking. And I would give that challenge to any of us. Try it and let me know how that goes. I would love to know how that happens. Okay, listen, I want to let you know what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're already running late, so I want to get through this, but I just wanted to let you know. Thank you, first of all, for being here and being part of this conversation today. Taking next weekend off. Not going to be here September 3rd. We've got some family coming into town. We got a variety of things going on, and just sometimes nice to take that break. So enjoy the time yourself, and make sure that you enjoy what the long weekend, hopefully for you, brings. But I wanted to also let you know quickly what's going on in a couple of weeks. We got I think a really cool show coming up on September 10th, 2 weeks from now. There was a documentary movie done in the city of Portland called Tipping Point, and it was about the protests that took place in the wake of the George Floyd murder. And so much attention and so many things happened in Portland. There was a group that wanted to do it. There was a documentarian who was actually filming was with the protesters and was filming much of this just to document it. And afterwards, there were some people who were able to get some of that footage together and decide that it would be worthwhile to do this documentary. It is non-politicized. It is non-biased. It is designed to really bring an objective view. And we're going to be joined by one of the producers and the host of the movie who interviews people on camera and gets their perspective on it. Julianne Johnson, performer in her own right, actor. teacher and very much involved in the making of this documentary. And Julianne is going to be with us in a couple of weeks to talk about the movie Tipping Point that is now starting to be shown in some of the film festivals. So that will be coming up. Listen, I want to just once again, just thank you for being here. We went a little bit long today. Hopefully you enjoyed our time together. Hopefully you found some humor in this, but also some relevance to your own experiences. Whatever happens in the next week ahead, the next couple of weeks, I know sometimes life comes at us, but just keep in mind at all times that we also have our own power. You've got a voice. You've got a place of advocacy in your life, in your world. And I just want to remind you, as I always do, to find a difference, sorry. Can I do one more drink of coffee before I finish that line? Thank you. I won't see you for a couple of weeks, so let me get this straight. Please find a way to make a difference in your world this week. And until we meet again, God bless you. Be good.